I remember that Sunday like it was etched into my bones. The aroma of burnt toast and coffee mingled with something far more bitter, the voices of my relatives, sharp and cruel, cutting through the morning air. "She's completely useless, isn't she?" one of my cousins sneered, and laughter erupted, cruel and light, as if words alone could erase years of struggle. My chest tightened, a heaviness pressing down that I hadn't felt before. I wanted to speak, to defend, but I was frozen, a child again, watching injustice in real time. I glanced at her, my aunt. Her smile was polite, the kind that tries to convince the world it is unshaken. But I saw it, the subtle tremor in her hands the fleeting flicker of pain in her eyes. She hid it masterfully, as if daring anyone to notice. But I noticed. Every detail burned into me. The smirk on my uncle's lips, the whispering eyes of the cousins, the way each word was meant to wound. They always underestimated her. I could see it now, in every sarcastic tone, every dismissive glance. She had spent decades proving herself, quietly working through challenges they never acknowledged. And here they were again, acting as if her life's work was nothing, her intelligence invisible. She began clearing the table, each movement deliberate and precise, ignoring the barbs as if swallowing years of pain silently. I remembered myself as a child, helpless and wide-eyed, witnessing these moments repeatedly. The same pattern of belittlement, the same forced smiles hiding internal storms. The cousins exchanged glances, condescending and deliberate, emphasizing her failure as though it defined her existence. And yet, in the depths of her eyes, there was resolve, a faint, almost imperceptible flash of strength that I alone seemed to recognize. I vowed then, silently, to never forget this. The humiliation, the cruelty, the utter disregard, they became a spark, a seed of something more potent than mere anger. Every laugh, every whispered insult was etched into my memory. I replayed each phrase, each sneer, over and over, a mental reel of injustice. Anger surged, raw and fierce, but I suppressed it, knowing that confrontation in that moment would be futile. The real battle was silent, internal, strategic. I watched her retreat to the kitchen, shoulders squared despite the ache I knew she carried. There was dignity in her motion, a silent defiance that no words could undo. Behind the laughter of relatives congratulating themselves for a harmless joke, I felt something ignite. This was not just humiliation, it was the beginning. The injustice, sharp and unrelenting, had found its witness, and I swore with every fiber of my being that it would not go unanswered. That morning ended, but its echo lingered. The mockery, the laughter, the underestimation, all of it became fuel. And in that quiet aftermath, I realized something crucial. Her silence was not submission. It was patience. It was preparation. And it would soon transform the humiliation they so freely delivered into a reckoning they would never see coming. Her life wasn't just a series of days. It was a battlefield she fought silently. I remember watching her navigate the world as a single mother, carrying burdens that would have crushed anyone else. Endless sacrifices were her currency. Every hour worked, every opportunity passed over, all to give us a life that the family never acknowledged. I remember the nights she came home after working 2, sometimes 3 jobs, exhausted to her core, yet finding the strength to help with homework, to make dinner, to offer comfort. The weight of it all never left her, but she carried it with a quiet grace that demanded recognition, though it never came from those who should have known her worth. Childhood memories flash vividly, her kneeling beside me, whispering lessons in resilience, even while her own heart ached from ridicule and disregard. "You rise even when they try to keep you down," she would say, her voice firm but gentle. She taught me strength, not through force, but through persistence, through dignity in the face of mockery. Family dismissals were constant, birthdays forgotten, achievements minimized, every effort met with indifference or ridicule. I remember one particular moment. She had been passed over for a promotion she deserved. The celebration went to someone who had done far less. I watched her smile, nod politely, and conceal a disappointment that could have shattered her. Behind her laughter and warmth were subtle scars, invisible to everyone but those who looked closely. She shed silent tears no one noticed, absorbed humiliation that no one validated, and still she rose each day with the same determined grace. The trauma of constant dismissal had shaped her, but it had not broken her. And yet, she never hardened her heart. Strangers felt her kindness, unaware that she gave so much of herself without expecting recognition. Strength lived in the small acts, the unnoticed gestures, the generosity she extended where the family had refused to see her worth. I felt my own guilt, remembering every time I stayed silent while relatives belittled her. Every insult I didn't challenge, every mockery I allowed weighed on me. I saw now how the family assumed her patience was weakness, not realizing it was strategic, a quiet shield that protected both her dignity and her plans. Once, I began to notice how each wound, each dismissal fueled her determination, every memory layered upon the next, building a mosaic of resilience that no sarcasm, no laughter, no condescension could dismantle. Public scorn contrasted sharply with private strength. Every moment of ridicule had been absorbed, cataloged, transformed into silent power. I documented these moments in my mind, the sacrifices, the unspoken victories, the resilience etched into every fiber of her being. I could see the planning, the quiet reckoning forming, though no one else yet noticed. Pride and anger coexisted in her eyes, hidden behind smiles, a secret I alone now recognized. It was in this shared understanding, the bond forged through pain, silent rebellion, and mutual recognition, that I realized just how unstoppable she was. Every act of kindness, every triumph unseen, every moment endured, built a foundation for the reckoning that would one day demand the world's attention. She had endured for years, and now, finally, the stage for justice was being set. She decided to start a business, quietly, with no announcement, just a plan and determination. The family, of course, noticed and immediately scoffed. "Why bother? She'll never make it," I heard my aunt's cousin whisper, their laughter sharp and deliberate. It stung, but she didn't respond. She just listened, measured, and carried on. The first months were brutal. Mistakes were made, deliveries delayed, ideas rejected. Relatives' laughter grew louder, sharper, like knives scraping over glass. I saw her pause sometimes, a shadow of doubt flickering across her face, but it never stayed. She buried herself in work, long nights spent balancing books, planning marketing, calling every contact she had nurtured over the years. Personal savings vanished into the venture, each dollar an investment in vindication. Rumors began circulating. "I heard she's already in debt," one relative said, feigning concern but aiming to wound. Others whispered about her supposed incompetence, trying to sabotage her progress before she could gain traction. And then came the advice, patronizing, disguised as concern. "Maybe you shouldn't push yourself too hard," they said, as if she were fragile. My blood boiled. If only they knew the fire she carried quietly inside. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, small victories appeared. A client praised her work, another offered repeat business. The relatives dismissed them with eye rolls, convinced luck had briefly smiled and would soon leave. Yet I saw her smile then, not the polite mask she wore in public, but a quiet, private acknowledgement that she was moving forward. Her confidence grew in silence, unshaken by the scoffs. Family gatherings became tension-filled battlegrounds. Whispers circulated. Her luck can't last forever. But her demeanor shifted subtly. There was a pride forming beneath her calm. Minor victories, a positive review, a successful pitch built layers of assurance that the family could not see clearly. At one dinner, a client's compliment fell like a spark. Relatives rolled their eyes, but she remained poised, nodding politely, her calm unbroken. She began to master public speaking, presenting herself with authority that commanded attention. I watched as she absorbed knowledge, financial strategies, market trends, alliances forming, and her metamorphosis became undeniable. My admiration grew with each step, each subtle triumph under constant scrutiny. Every relative reaction was a clue, and I documented them. The hesitation, the forced smiles, the subtle envy. Their arrogance was cracking, and I could see it. Even at a particularly humiliating family dinner, where insults were layered and glances sharpened, she remained unshaken, her composure like steel. Her resilience started to irritate them, tension simmering beneath polite conversation. Small confrontations emerged, verbal jabs and snide remarks, and every time she deflected with calm intelligence. Each act of disrespect now met a quiet, calculated resistance. They expected weakness, but instead, she delivered control, patience, and strategy. I watched, knowing that every scornful word only built the foundation of the reckoning that would soon arrive. The phone rang sharp and insistent, breaking the quiet hum of her office. She answered, and I watched her face transform, a spark of excitement lighting her eyes, the kind of spark I hadn't seen since the day she endured relentless humiliation. Her relatives, conveniently hovering nearby, overheard fragments. "Oh, she's probably dreaming again," one muttered, a sneer still in their tone, but it faltered mid-sentence. The laughter that always followed her misfortune froze, replaced by a sudden, uneasy silence. This is it," she whispered, voice trembling with controlled joy. The business opportunity on the other end validated her skills publicly, in a way no relative could ignore. I could see the subtle shift, the recognition that her years of persistence were finally paying off. Word spread quickly. Allies from the community, people who had long respected her quiet strength, began acknowledging her talent openly. Her expertise, once overlooked, now demanded attention. The family's smug, useless label began to unravel, panic flickering across their faces in small, telling gestures. Their laughter, once confident, now edged with nervousness. Then came the revelation she shared with me. A relative had stolen her idea years ago, the same idea that fueled her current venture. That theft, hidden in plain sight, had been the source of so much ridicule and despair. I could see the first cracks forming in the family's arrogance as the truth hit them. The power in the room shifted subtly but unmistakably. Her confidence, once hidden behind patience, now radiated in every movement, every glance. She didn't confront anyone publicly yet. Timing was her weapon, precision her ally. My role was silent, observing, documenting every reaction, knowing the eventual vindication would speak louder than words. At a charity event, the first subtle confrontation unfolded. Relatives tried to assert control, throw subtle jabs, but her calm mastery over the situation was unshakable. The same scenarios that had once humiliated her now highlighted their insecurity. Each acknowledgement from outsiders only intensified their unease. I watched her demeanor transform completely, from years of suppressed anger to poised authority. Every gesture, every measured word announced her presence with undeniable power. The turning point was clear. The overlooked, the underestimated, had become unstoppable. And in that quiet, controlled space, I realized the reckoning had begun. Patient, precise, and inescapably just. The doors opened and the crowd flowed in, buzzing with curiosity and admiration. My aunt stood at the center. The culmination of years of struggle finally materialized into a successful business. Recognition was immediate. The media cameras caught her every confident movement, and I could see the subtle flickers of discomfort in the relatives' eyes as they attended her grand opening. They tried to mask it, but the stares were sharp and uneven. "Well, looks like she finally made it," one muttered, but there was hesitation in the tone, a crack in their usual mockery. My aunt smiled politely, then stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding attention. Her keynote speech began, soft yet deliberate, a subtle dismantling of the useless label that had haunted her for years. Every word carried authority and quiet defiance. The media coverage amplified her voice, highlighting achievements that contrasted sharply with the derision they once hurled at her. She had already taken steps behind the scenes. Legal action had been filed against the relative who tried to sabotage her early efforts, exposing the betrayal that fueled years of humiliation. Now, public humiliation had flipped. Those same scoffing relatives appeared petty, their envy thinly veiled beneath forced smiles. I watched her calmly dismantle every condescending gesture and remark. A glance, a measured phrase, a poised response. She transformed their arrogance into visible discomfort. Then came the family reunion, a charged atmosphere where emotions ran high. She revealed her achievements with subtle pride, financial independence, respect earned, influence acknowledged. Their attempts to belittle her fell flat, collapsing under the weight of her composed authority. Friends and community members openly praised her, leaving the relatives isolated in shame, their forced laughter echoing empty. I noted every detail, the faltering smiles, the shifting eyes, the nervous gestures that betrayed them. She spoke of the hidden trauma, turning past pain into inspiration for all who listened. Every triumph felt cinematic, heightened by the stark contrast to years of unnoticed effort and ridicule. When relatives attempted excuses, she countered effortlessly, demonstrating that patience and intelligence were far sharper than impulsive rage. I felt the internal satisfaction radiate from her. Justice had been achieved without cruelty, calculated and precise. Social media amplified her story, transforming what was once humiliation into widespread admiration. Every insult ever hurled now rebounded harmlessly. Their words had no power, rendered meaningless by her unshakable success and dignity. The family dynamics had shifted almost imperceptibly at first. Relatives approached her with forced respect, hesitant smiles, and careful words, replacing the mockery that had once flowed so freely. My aunt received them with grace, never needing to confront unnecessarily, her calm presence alone speaking volumes. I noticed subtle apologies slip out, grudging acknowledgments of her achievements, spoken in tones that betrayed both regret and awe. Her business flourished, each success amplifying her recognition in the community and cementing her legacy as someone who had endured, persisted, and triumphed. Watching her, I reflected on her emotional growth. Every humiliation, every insult she had absorbed over the years had been converted into empowerment. The sting of past ridicule had faded, replaced by an unshakable authority, and the power balance within the family was permanently altered. She began mentoring younger family members, teaching lessons of resilience, patience, and intelligence, emphasizing strength without cruelty, victory without vengeance. I could still feel the lingering tension in the relatives, silent acknowledgments of their past errors that hung unspoken in the air. The household atmosphere transformed. Where mockery once reigned, now there was a quiet fear of underestimating her. Her calm authority no longer needed performance. It was natural, intrinsic, radiating from every gesture and word. Our bond deepened, forged in the shared understanding of pain and triumph. Legal victories settled old betrayals, securing her future, while community support reinforced her position. She was no longer an underdog. I sensed her internal peace, the satisfaction of revenge executed with intelligence and patience, dignity intact. Emotional scars faded, replaced by quiet pride and joy. As I watched her, I realized the truth of her journey. Every challenge endured, every insult absorbed, had forged weapons of patience, resilience, and intelligence. These were the tools of her triumph, and they had reshaped not just her life, but the way the world now saw her. I looked directly into the camera, my voice steady but charged with the weight of what I've witnessed. This is the story of a woman who transformed humiliation into triumph, who turned years of mockery into a legacy of strength. The journey was relentless, silent endurance through every insult, careful planning in the shadows, unwavering courage when no one else believed. I saw her harness dignity over rage, intelligence over impulsive retaliation, each decision calculated, each move deliberate. Want advice? Trauma did not define her. Every setback became a lesson, every insult a stepping stone. Resilience shaped her destiny, not bitterness. As her witness, I can celebrate her unspoken strength, the quiet power she wielded while the world doubted her. Close-ups of family members faltering, their arrogance crumbling in the face of her calm, remain vivid in my mind. Every gesture, every pause, every faltering smile told a story of reversal and vindication. To you watching, remember this. If someone ever made you feel small, if you've been underestimated or dismissed, her story is proof that patience, strategic action, and justice without cruelty can reshape everything. Cinematic images of her life now dominate my thoughts. Thriving, respected, unstoppable. I urge you to share stories of personal vindication, lessons learned in resilience, and triumph over mockery. Her confident smile lingers as the final frame, a symbol of unshakable empowerment. Strength manifests quietly, but unmistakably. Personal injustices can become defining victories. I leave you with this vision, letting it resonate. Awe, emotional satisfaction, and inspiration, fading into silence, carrying the lesson that true power is patient, intelligent, and enduring.